Hey, today's going to be boring. We got a comedian in the lab. Leanne Linsky joins me live in the lab, coming right up.
Hi, I'm Keith Bilous, and this is Live in the Lab.
All right.
A little bit of weirdness in front of the camera there for anybody who's watching. Because I'm like, hey, where's the button? Where's the button? I can't get it going. How did you go viral on TikTok? You were on America's Got Talent. How much do you get paid to be on AGT? Oh, you didn't get paid. Keith and Steve here Live in the Lab.
You're a great interviewer. I love it.
48 miles, 48 hours. And not just once. You ain't seen nothing yet. I hit 50 last time, and I'm like, yeah, things are a little different than they were 10 years ago. So trust me, things are the future. You have no time for the BS that much of society seems to put on the table. Why is that? Like, what you're talking about is real right now. There's just no bullshit here, but it's just real. We brought you in with some Marley. I said, Joseph, let's talk music for a second. We said, well, Keith, oldies, 60s, 70s, and 80s. I've never talked to a sir before. Why are you a sir? In many ways, we're the same story. I came from nothing. You came from nothing. I think the old saying goes that if you want a trophy, you climb Everest. If you want respect, you climb K2. I've built an around myself, and it's pretty fascinating when you can have a conversation with yourself with your own knowledge. Have you done that before? Why are we rushing to make these tools if they're all they're going to do is hurt humanity? Does the world need an Oppenheimer moment with AI?
What a fun show.
Ha! The buttons weren't working, but I'm here. I'm always here. You got Keith Bilous sitting here. I'm live in the lab. Noon Central Time with a comedian today. It's going to be funny. I was just kidding over there earlier. I was really kidding. We're going to have some fun today. You know we like to have fun here in the lab. It's going to be a fun show. Leanne Linsky, Plausible. It all happened. BC. No, not before Christ. No, before COVID. Yeah. So Leanne's joining us here in a few moments. We are going to bring some laughter to the lab. I wonder if Leanne, like our previous comedian-preneur, R. Scott Edwards. You know, R. Scott was, well, Leanne. He was stuck in a hot tub with Dana Carvey. Now, do we want to ask Leanne the same question? Do you think she was stuck in a hot tub with Dana Carvey? I don't know. Maybe it was Gary Shandling. R. Scott also hung out with, I loved Gary Shandling. I miss Gary Shandling. Remember when Gary did the old Gary Shandling show and he walked up to his little buddy and went, that was the best part. Best part of the show. So Leanne's going to join us here in a few moments, which I am excited to have in the lab. I need Leanne here today. It's been a little pivot in my routine, as you know. Yeah, I've been jumping in here. Been jumping up here in the lab, 7 a.m. Central with Nicole Bernard. Live mornings in the lab with Nicole Bernard and myself. So not only, Leanne, not only do we do this show live at noon every day of the week, we are now doing a morning show live every day of the week, Monday to Friday. So, hey, maybe if you're funny, I'll welcome you back. Maybe if you're going to make me laugh, you can come back in the morning with a cup of coffee and make our audience laugh in the morning as well. We're always looking for guests to drop in. But if you're boring, I'm telling you, if you're boring, you can't come back. Sorry. Nope. I'm sure you're not going to be boring now. I'm having fun with you, Leanne. So I love this part of the monologue. I stick the guests in the green room. Nation laughs because, like, Bilous, what are you doing, man? You stick them in the green room and you make fun of them. I'm like, yeah, it's like the best part of my show. Because listen, it's not live in the lab with Leanne Linsky. No, it's live in the lab with Keith Bilous. Guest Leanne Linsky. Keith has the controls. Mornings in the lab. We go Monday to Friday, noon Central. What do we do those in the mornings? Well, we bring our cup of coffee. We have coffee with you guys. And to my friends in Europe, you guys can bring your beverage of choice. Your beer, your vodka, your soda. I think people are drinking less alcohol these days. So maybe just bringing some soda water. I know I haven't had a drink in 7 years. So I just drink the old soda water. So anyways, we bring our coffee in the morning. We talk about business. We talk about athletics, AI, adventure, performance, lifestyle, longevity. You know, all those pillars. 1, 2, 3, 4. The pillars of the Business Athlete Performance Lab. This modern day media company that helps you become accountable, helps you get to your next, helps you achieve the biggest, most hairiest, the most biggest and audacious goals in your life. Yeah, I didn't swear. Nicole's like, you didn't swear this morning. I did swear. At the 42-minute mark, I said, fuck. I did. You know, Leanne, comedians don't swear like they used to, right? But I also wonder if they weren't as funny. Like, so you think Andrew Dice Clay made his whole comedian by just dropping the F word. True. And Eddie Murphy in the early days, Eddie Murphy would love to erase Raw from his repertoire, I'm sure, because I think in today's world, Raw does not age very well. But anyway, so it was the 42-minute mark where I finally dropped the F-bomb. So Leanne, we can drop F-bombs on this show. But what do we have a good time in the morning. We bring our coffee, we have a chatter. But the goal of the morning show is, jack the tunes up here, to be your morning alarm clock. Many of you, I know many of you, sit there and go, I want to reach a goal. I'm like, yeah, you do. Fucking rights, you do. And they're like, yeah, okay, I'm going to get up on Monday. All right, let's do it on Monday. Then you show up on Tuesday. Then by Thursday, you're like, holy fuck, I don't know if I can get to Friday or the next week. So Keith and Nicole are like, hey, well, we're always around. We show up every single day. I've built a career on showing up. So we're going to have our morning coffee, be here on our show, and you guys can maybe set your alarm to wake up with us. And maybe we'll be maybe. You know what I like to make recommendations, make suggestions. You all make the decisions. But maybe by us being here at 7 a.m. every single day for 2 hours, it gives you the energy. Because we don't have any energy here in the lab. We're pretty fucking boring. We're just all mute, monotone, and don't bring any accent, and we just talk like this the whole time. Now, anyways, we will be here in the morning for you. So join us tomorrow. And our guest might join us too. I've just realized this morning over my cup of coffee that this might be the morning show might be the best way to audition guests for this show. If they're funny in the morning, they might be even funnier later on in the day. All right, monologue's done. Where's the camera? There's the camera right there. Monologue is over. Jack the tunes up. Jack the tunes down. We do things differently here. We haven't told Leanne. We haven't told her the mantra. She's thinking, what the hell did I get myself into? Leanne, we're all about entertaining and informing. I know you've been on many shows that inform and bore. Nope, we don't. We entertain and inform. So I welcome you here to entertain and inform. And while we do that, why don't we turn our attention over there to the screen and welcome Leanne Linsky.
Hello.
What is going on, Leanne Linsky?
Hey, what is not going on, right?
You solved the problem today.
I did.
You stepped into the green room and I said, hey, how are you, Leanne? And you said, I'm really good, Keith. I solved the problem. And I was like, you got to stop talking because I think we're going to get along just fine. Because anybody who solves a problem with the first thing they say to me, I like them. I'm like, oh, well, problem solving is fun.
It is. It is.
Where are you joining us from today?
Well, I am joining you from Seattle, Washington.
And how's Seattle, Washington today?
It is actually quite bright, which was creating a problem for me because I'm so used to it raining and doing video this early. I was suddenly my lighting was really bad and I was looking more like the crypt keeper than a human. And so I solved the problem and I'm in a room with windows on one wall and no window covering. So a little binder clip action, a tablecloth, and problem solved.
Well, so we love to solve problems here in the lab, Leanne. So I'm thankful that not even 10 minutes in, we're giving nuggets to nation, business athlete nation. If you wake up and the lighting's bad in your room, you take the old, what kind of clip? Paper clip?
Binder clips.
Oh my God, the binder clip. You attach it to the wall. You attach it to the, what are you hanging? The fabric or a blanket?
It's like a tablecloth. Well, I use two things because the window is so big. I use a tablecloth on one side, it's white, and then a white flat sheet on the other side. But there's a thing for a curtain rod up there with a couple of hooks. So I just took some binder clips, clip, 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 clip.
Beautiful.
Yeah, right? And it actually looks kind of nice.
Hey, you might just be leaving it up there. You might be pulling out the entrepreneur hat and starting yourself a new business there. So Leanne Linsky, founder, CEO at Plausible, master of innovation and entrepreneurship from Seattle, Washington. That is Leanne Linsky. I'm excited to have you here today.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
Did you know what you're getting yourself into?
No, I know you're a business athlete. And first of all, I love that that's how I just love that because often people, when they hear about coaches or business and there's a lot of similarities in sports and life and business. And I think people miss that a lot. And I love that that's the direction you went because I'm like, oh, I get you. I so get you.
I like, so I want to expand upon that then. So when you say you get me, this is awesome for me because I'm trying to build a business and a brand. And clearly something resonated for you when you said you got me. So articulate to me what you got and let's see if you got my message right. I'm really curious, frankly. So when you hear business athlete and you're like, hey, I get this. What does that mean to you, Leanne? I'm very excited.
No, I hear you. to me, it means if I'm a business athlete, I want to perform at my highest level. I want to be the best athlete I can. That means there's goals, there's milestones, there's things I need to achieve. And what does an athlete do? They get a coach. So that's what a business athlete is someone who wants to perform at a higher level and up their game and play better at business. And I also at one point had gone through coach training for several years,
Yeah.
and it was life-changing experience. And one of the things that I learned is that, a lot of times we hear people say, "Oh, coach, they're going to tell me how to live." No, they don't. They coach you in living better and taking and upping your game and being the person who can observe from the sidelines and see things that we as players can't. And so I was like, "Oh, brilliant. Like you so get it." And that's exactly what I believe people need if they want to really move quicker towards their goals and achieve higher milestones and objectives than they ever thought they could.
Well, I'm glad we're recording this, and I just paused there for a microsecond so that we just recorded a commercial for the Business Athlete Performance Lab from our guest, Leanne Linsky, who accurately described what we stand for, what we do, and who we're trying to help. And you're bang on. There's so many cross principles of an athlete and a business person, and that's when the light went on for me, Leanne, when I discovered an athletic facility here in Winnipeg, a gym. My Business Athlete Nation knows the story. I met a fellow there, changed my life. I met the local professional hockey team, and I walked in there, and I'm like, I was a business guy, and I'm like, I want to train like them.
Yeah.
Because I believe that because they're doing something to achieve, to win a Stanley Cup, trying to win a Stanley Cup, and I'm trying to win a Stanley Cup running my business, those metaphors. And as I was on my journey, Leanne, all the business guys that I met there wanted to hang out with the athletes, and all the pro athletes wanted to hang out and were curious about the business guys. And the underlying, current between the two was trying to do the same things, just described differently. Do you follow me?
I follow you 100%. Yeah.
And it really came from there. So, we started the lab a number of months ago. And what do you do in a lab, Leanne? You attempt, you experiment, you're permitted to, well, we don't use the word fail. We're permitted for feedback, right?
Yep.
So it's this incubation of a place where we bring ideas and bring fun to life.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So Plausible, what brought you here for me when you came across my desk, I'm like, I'm kind of curious about Leanne Linsky, was your journey from entrepreneur to comedianpreneur, I'll call it. Do you know our Scott Edwards?
No, I don't.
Yes,
I don't know.
It's fascinating to me because Scott's business model, not the same, but similar to yours, and I'm fascinated by this idea of basically a comedian in a box, right? Really, on-demand comedians. Am I wrong?
You're on it. You're on it. It's probably, it's a little bit different, but yeah.
Okay, so describe Plausible. Okay, if there was a sound effect, I'd be bonging me out right now. Audience is like, oh, Bilous didn't do his homework. He sucked on that one. He did not describe it accurately. Help me and help the audience understand Plausible, Leanne.
Yeah, so the easiest way I've been describing it is an online comedy club. So it's in real time. So everything is actually live. So when I hear the term, the only reason I said on the on demand is that's what Netflix is, or that's what HBO is, because it's on demand. It's when you want it, right? And then you can play it at any time. Whereas Plausible is it's in real time. So just like you would have to show up at a comedy club at a specific time to see a show, you'd have to show up on Plausible at a specific time to see a show, because the comedians can see and hear the audience, and the audience can see and hear the comedian and each other. So that's the only flip. So you're right. But just to be more clear on the we're in a box, right? And to the point that you made is that it's online. But the bigger thing that a lot of people don't realize, unless they're a comedian, one of the bigger features for performers is that I flipped the business model. So I've put the control into the comedian's hand rather than in the club's hand. So I provide the tools for the comics, but they can create, produce at their leisure, at their own time, at the price that they want to charge, at the time they want to do it, with other comics that they want to book. and the type of show that they want to do. There's not a gatekeeper like in a traditional club. Someone has to approve it. Someone has to audition. Someone has to have X number of followers or so many IMDb credits. And in this case, I'm giving them the control and putting them in the driver's seat of their own comedy journey.
Mhm.
Yet I can give them the tools to help them play better.
Now, was looking at my notes. Now, you started this was pre-pandemic or post-pandemic?
Yeah, so this was pre-pandemic. I had been doing comedy for many years, and I ended up moving from New York to LA. And in that transition, I was like, oh my gosh, I was showing up to get 5 minutes of stage time because I was new in town, and I was driving an hour and a half. Granted, it wasn't that far, but in LA, everything takes you
Yes.
forever to
Yes.
get to. And I was like, this is bananas. Like, how do I solve this problem? Like, I want to get my time on stage, but I can't be driving in every single day. So how do I bridge that gap? Because I was living in Long Beach. Someone told me Long Beach was much closer. It is close, but it's not when you sit on the 405. So I was like, how do I fix this for me? That's how I was problem solving. And so I was like, oh, I could do some things online. And I had been running a mic in New York for over 7 years. I had been producing weekly shows. And I'm like, I really missed the camaraderie and my fellow comics from the East Coast. How do I stay in touch and then maybe introduce them to some of these new people I've met? So I was like, what do I do? Skype? And everybody's like, Skype. And I was like, yeah, good point. And then I was like, but I was using Zoom for work. Had a day job and I was still working for a studio in New York from California, and we were using Zoom. I'm like, I think I'm going to use Zoom. And then before COVID happened, I started running an open mic on Zoom just to see if I could do it. And if people show up, I could work out new jokes and they could work out new jokes and we could do like peer-to-peer feedback and kind of a different vibe. It's actually a little bit more intimate than in person. And they were like, wow, this is great. You know, you should be charging us for this. And I was like, wait a minute, a comedian's asking to pay for something. And then then COVID happened and everybody started doing things online. But then I realized, although this is great, it's created a new problems and challenges for entertainers like ourselves online that we don't face in person. And my intention was never to replace in person. It's still not that. I think as humans, we need that social interaction and in real life. But I definitely feel that there's opportunity to fill a gap and to fill a need for a lot of different reasons. So in doing so, I was like, if I'm fixing this and it's online, then why can't I fix these other things? And why can't I provide these other tools so that it's not so disjointed and things don't have to be so cobbled together and comics don't have to go and build their own website. They can have this profile page here. They can post their in-person shows as well as their online shows. They have a tool. They can charge tickets. They can do all of that without having to be super tech savvy.
Leanne, is the power of being a live comedian, though, not having that in-audience live connection? I know you had a very successful one-person women stand-up. So to do that successfully behind a camera takes a new level of skill. No?
Yes, it does. And then I think it depends on what tools we're using. And I think that's one of the challenges that I heard the most about on some of the other online streaming services that people were using is that, you know, there's this delay, there's like this weird awkwardness and are people laughing? Are they not laughing? Can I see them? Can they? And I was like, how do I fix that? I mean, if it's possible already to do as much as we're doing online, there has to be a way to make this better for entertainment purposes, not just an accounting meeting or, you know, work event or something like that. But why not fix some of those problems? So like on Plausible, we don't have audio cutouts and delays. We can hear everybody laughing right away. And if they're not, probably joke wasn't funny. You know, it's like
right.
we know immediately. And then the other thing is like even in person, we can pan the audience and see, like there's usually bright lights on stage, so we can only see a handful of people at a time, but we can quickly read the room and gauge like the vibe of it by looking at people's expressions, right? Are they looking at their phone? Are they smiling? What's the vibe? So on Plausible, I also changed how the screen layout is so that as a comedian, I can quickly read the room without having to click through to another thing. And I removed the option for gallery view. That's one of the things people notice. They're like, how do I see everybody? I'm like, pay attention. I'm on stage. You don't need to be looking at someone who's cleaning out their closet while they're listening to me, because that's what we tend to do. I know when I was back in school during the pandemic, I'd go into gallery mode, right? During professor's lecture. I saw way too much of my classmates, and I am not kidding you. I'm like, "Oh, did that just happen?" Um, and yeah, but after sitting for so long, I would go into gallery view. I mean, I'm curious what's going on with everybody. Is it who's here? Why doesn't anybody have their camera on? And we'd have to click through to other screens. But if I'm performing, the last thing I can't multitask
Mhm.
while I'm performing. I can't stop. Where's the arrow? Click to the next screen. But what I can do is quickly read the room, and I changed it so that we can just hit the wheel on our mouse, and the audience will scroll through the screen, and I can see everybody like quickly as though I'm doing this on stage.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I love how you've embraced live. And I want to go on a tangent with you on this for a moment
Mhm.
because I'm doing the same with this show. I chose to do a live show. I didn't do a live show in the mornings. And I've done it to make for two reasons, frankly. Well, I guess a number of reasons, Leanne. But to be raw, to be
Mhm.
authentic, to not worry about the algorithm or the edits or the massaging what perfection is. Yesterday in my show, the internet went out. I was like, holy fuck, the internet went out. I got to go figure this out. Right. Because that's how real life works. And we solve problems in real life. And as a result, I've made fun of the fact that we're not a podcast. Right. So I've flipped the message and on the script that we're not a podcast because podcasts happen irregularly. They're done in a closet. They're just here or there. They're just kind of they're perfect. They're edited. They're massaged. If the joke doesn't work, you can redo it. Right. So no, we're live. We're live. We're raw. We're naked in front of everybody, and we're just saying what we're gonna say. So when I hear you describing your business the same way, and you corrected me. He's like, Keith, no, we're not on demand. On demand is Netflix. And I even watched your facial expression because, like myself, you're very clear on your branding and your positioning that no, we're a live platform. We're not here to replace the live comedian environment, but we're here to give another tool for comedians to embrace, to test, to try, and to complement what they're already doing. Did I capture that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely did. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've taken the real world experience and tried to emulate as much of that as possible with technology, right?
Right. I did. And at the same time, what I also found that I was making it more accessible to people who don't live in big metropolitan areas with a lot of
Yes.
opportunity.
Yes.
And I made it accessible to people. And these are things like I didn't realize at the time. And the more I talk to people, and the more I talk to people, and the more people have onboarded on the Plausible, I've learned I'm like, oh, there are people who can't be in large groups for a variety of reasons, whether it's immune disorders or
Yes.
other health concerns, and so many things that they're like, "Oh, this solves a problem for me." And so yeah, so it's even beyond my wildest dreams. It's reaching people, and that's what excites me so much.
That's all. So take me from the first day. I'm a huge fan of moments that are behind the moment, and then we dig even deeper.
Mhm.
Take me to the moment you were considering Plausible as an entrepreneur, and then you questioned yourself, second guessed yourself, third guessed yourself. Then you finally did it. Help me arrive at that moment. And
Yeah.
as much, Leanne, to encourage those that are listening right now that are perhaps in a similar situation that you were at the time, which was thinking about it, considering it, maybe scared of doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Then you did it.
Sure. So my first real thought of doing this is when I moved from New York to LA or Long Beach, so Los Angeles County. And that was at the end of 2014, beginning of 2015. So I moved like December of 2014.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about it. I'm like, as I was going through this move of like, oh my gosh, like I was in New York for 9 years. Before that, I was in Las Vegas. I grew up in the Midwest, but I was in New York for this big chunk of time where that's where I really fully immersed myself into the comedy scene. And I ran this open mic, and I was just like, how do I stay in touch with everybody? I love running this mic. I love putting on shows. I want to keep in touch with people, but how do I do that in a real way. And I was like, well, Skype. And then I was like, oh, Zoom, I use that for work. And that was the very beginning. And then once I started tossing that idea around, my life got really lifey, right? Like everybody's like, oh, Leanne, did you move to LA for your comedy? And I'm like, well, I moved there for a man, and that turned out to be a joke. So yeah, I showed up and he decided he changed his mind. Like, I'm like, "Do you know how hard it is to give up a or to give up an apartment in Queens? Like, I will never get that back."
Jeez.
Um, so so I was like, "How do I?" So life happened, and I'm like, "How do I?" I'm determined to make it work here. I've got to give it a go before I pack up and go back, or if I go back. And I'm like, so I was just committed to making it work, as hard as it was. So I started producing shows in Long Beach. I started a podcast. I did all of those things. And in that time, I kind of set aside the idea of doing things online, but it was rolling around back there. I'm like, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to it. And every now it would resurface. And then it wasn't until I had met someone new who is now my husband. He's amazing. And he's always super supportive. Like, he would go to all my shows, he would do all the things. And I had told him, like, I really want to do this thing online. And I had brought it up more than once while we were dating. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do this online. And I had a coaching business. I
Yeah.
had I had been laid off of my job that I had from New York. And so I was no longer working remotely doing that. And I'm like, I'm just gonna put a page up on my coaching business, and then so that people can sign up. I'm going to automate that process. I use some scheduling tools and things like that. And I'm like, I'm just going to test it out. I'm just going to test it out and invite a few people and see what happens. And I ran that experiment, and we just kept meeting regularly. And so when COVID happened, I already had everything all set up. And even before COVID happened, I had applied for grad school, and I'm like, I think there's something here. I don't know what, but I think there's something here, and I could help a lot of people. But how do I do that? And I had graduated in 92, right?
Okay.
From
Okay.
UNLV.
Okay.
So I'm like, it's been a long time since I've really been fully immersed in the business world. And I had worked for a Fortune 500 after I graduated UNLV, and I got laid off from that job. And I packed up 2 suitcases, moved to New York, fully focused on comedy. So I was like in this whole theater scene and comedy scene. And so now I have this idea. I'm like, how do I need new connections. I need people who are like in this tech world. So my boyfriend, now husband, was like, why don't you look around online and see what you want to do? And I was like, well, I always said when I turned 50, I would reconsider going back to school and get my graduate degree. And I go, but I don't know how that would apply here. And so I started looking at MBA and things like that. And I'm like, I don't want to work for somebody else. I just feel like I have something, and I invested all these years in training and in comedy and acting. And how do I apply that? And then I noticed the University of California, Irvine was offering a brand new program called MIE, Masters of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And I was like, that's what I want to do. And I'm like, but UC is like a really good school. Are they going to accept me? Like, what? That's nuts. And he was like, just throw your name in the hat. And so I did all the applications, and I showed up, and I took tours of the campus and met with people. And the next thing, I was accepted on the first round. And so then COVID happened. I kept doing all my things, and I started formulating like all the ideas I wanted to incorporate into this online open mic format that I was doing. That's what I called it, just online open mic.
Mhm.
And then I went to school, and I learned all about, you know, how to pitch your ideas, how to experiment, how to, all the financing, all the different things that would come into play with a tech startup. And so upon graduation, I ended up getting accepted into an incubator program,
Mhm.
which led me to an accelerator program that came with some funding. I was able to hire a team, which took a long time to hire tech people because not all tech people are the same. And it was really important to get people who could share my vision and think outside the box and do something different instead of going, well, this company does that. Why don't you just do what they do? And I'm like, because that's not solving the problem. If it already exists, it's not it. And it has to be something completely different. And that's what's led me here.
To me, the inspiring start of your story, Leanne, is the fact that you just did it though. Now, I hear everything that happened once you did it. But that to me is the most important part. Is that you just said is that you said something along the lines of
I just set up a page and then I just tested it. I just sent it to my audience and we wanted to see what was going to happen. And next thing you know, I woke up and things were happening. That point there for me is the biggest challenge I believe many have, because many entrepreneurs, me included, we often overthink, overplan, got to do this, never start. So you said to your boyfriend at the time, not husband, I'm just going to throw a page up.
Yep.
That to me is the gold nugget of this entire hour, as simple as it is, because you're not sitting here today if you don't make that decision.
It's so true. Well, and I think just today, right? Taking binder clips and throwing the sheets up on the wall. It's that simple. Like, get it going, done. Getting it perfect is it's never going to be perfect. It is never going to be perfect. It is always going to be hard. I learned my title is not, founder CEO. It's really problem solver, because every single day I have a new problem that I have to solve. And as soon as I'm like, yeah, I finally got that off my plate, here comes another one. And that's what it is. And, so I just have to do something to get it going. It may not be perfect, but I have to put it out there. So have you read the book, The One Thing?
No, I can't read.
Okay. So that's why there's Audible. And I'm a big fan of Audible because
that's why I just talk all the time and listen. And I just talk to smarter people than me. I'm like, all right, fuck, I'll just talk to Leanne. I'll talk to Art Scott. I'll just talk to all these guests. If I talk to a new human being every single day, I'll never have to read anything. Yeah.
Right? So there's this great book that I read recently called The One Thing. And I now have it on my wall. Have a big whiteboard or whatever they're called on the wall. And it says, what is the one thing? And underneath I have all the things that I don't want to forget that have to be done. But I start my day with looking at the one thing that is most important that is going to actually get results. So I look at something that's results based. And if I do one thing that has the potential of bringing in a result for my business, that's what I do first. Everything else, like filing, those are tolerances. Those are things that I can do later. Those are things that I do in my downtime. Like when I'm not as clear-minded or focused, or I get tired and I want a nap. Okay, well, here's some filing. Sit on the floor, do something different, and then put that away. That's just an example, but I look at what's the one thing that could make the biggest difference in my business today, and I'm going to do that. And I think that goes to when I sat down to log in and talk with you this morning, and I looked at my lighting, I'm like, wow, what's the one thing I could do really quick to solve this problem? Binder clips in a sheet.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then I'm not stressed, and then I can move on. I can circle back later and fix it, but then I can also decide, hey, is there something I can do similar to that and leave it up all the time? If it's that simple, why haven't I done that before? But I think that that same thought process can be applied with anybody who wants to start something different. It's just what's the one thing? I don't have to do it all today, because this whole idea, this started back in 2014, 2015. And what year is it? I don't even know. 2023?
Yeah.
2024. Oh, yeah. 2024. See, I don't even know. But that's how long I have been working on this idea. I don't even know what year it is. Oh my God. I'm not surprised.
This is gold, because you've been showing up consistently for you've been showing up consistently for so many years. You don't even know what day and year it is right now. You're just like, I just got up today. Don't know what day or year it is, but I'm still doing my thing. And that's where people last, because you just keep doing the same thing consistently. Right. And you've made a career at showing up. I know you heard me talk about the morning show we launched, and I'll just, I got to take a moment to plug it right now.
Yeah, please do.
But our morning show, we go here Monday to Friday. Nicole Bernard and myself. So Nicole is training for an ultra marathon, and she's like, "Hey Keith, I'm training for this ultra marathon. I'm looking to change some routines in my life. Maybe I could use an accountability associate." She knows I'm always around at 6 a.m. and I'm like, "Hey, I want to start a morning show. You want to join me as a co-host in the morning show, and we'll just do this accountability thing together?" She's like, "Sure." So we decided that 12 days ago. Well, yesterday we went live for the first day. And it was largely a train wreck. But you know what? Today was 1% better than yesterday. And then after the show, I made a few changes, tomorrow is going to be 1% better than today. Just like this show, we just started the show late last year, and holy fuck, man, I'm like 8,000% better than I was when I started the show months ago. But
Yeah.
the idea was just showing up every single day and trying to do something every single day. I will confess to you, Leanne, as an entrepreneur, and I wonder if you have the same challenge. In the past, I wasn't always this way. In the past, I wanted to get it all perfect, and sometimes I just wouldn't get things started. I've had to learn to adopt in 1% increments. You?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I've been highly influenced by my parents, who are very do-it-yourselfers.
Okay.
You know, like
Yeah.
we always had to make everything was homemade. My mom made all my clothes. My
Really?
dad,
Yeah.
yeah. My dad, he did all the repairs around our house. He fixed everything. He built, when they retired, he built all their furniture. And that wasn't his job. That was his dream to be able to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Do you wanna start a business?" He's like, "No, that's just fun." Like, I don't want work. I just enjoy it. And when we needed something new, we would find a way to we were very frugal. We didn't have a ton of money, but my parents were very conscientious about things and how we go about it. And I think I really learned at a very young age that if I wanted things, they gave me the freedom to solve a lot of problems on my own or to figure things out.
Mhm.
And as a result, I learned to put value on things. I
Mhm.
learned to take care of things because I had to work hard to get them.
Mhm.
And when they don't just happen, I have a greater appreciation for them. It's like they told us, I have 2 siblings, and they told us, I'm the youngest. They said, we buy your first bicycle, and then after that, you earn your next one. And, because you gotta learn how to take care of it. If you earn it, you know how much it cost you to get it, put it away at night. If you leave it out, we're not gonna replace it for you when it gets stolen or, missing or something like that. You have to learn to take care of things. And I think that has kind of come across, like, I've just brought that with me throughout my whole life of like, I've always thought, okay, if I want something, how do I go about figuring this out to get it? Because I wasn't just given things. They taught us a valuable lesson from the get-go of like, you don't, you're not entitled to these things. That we work hard for what we have. We have a great appreciation for it. And if you want more, let's problem solve and how we make that happen together, or you figure it out on your own.
What a wonderful lesson that was.
Yeah, I probably didn't like it so much at the time, to be honest, because it's like, why do they have Jordache jeans and I'm wearing Kmart clothes? But I look back and I'm like, how important were those jeans really?
Of course.
Not
Of course.
not at all. I mean, at the time it seemed big because I got picked on, but I think that just made me more resilient and built character.
Mhm, mhm.
Not so much when I was crying every day, but yeah, hindsight.
Do you have children today?
None that I know of.
None that okay. And then
The 90s were crazy. People are always like, "You're a woman, you can't tell that joke." I'm like, "Oh, but I can."
I can, absolutely. This is a good segue to where I wanted to go next. So we touched on the business side of things. We're into the kind of the back stretch of our conversation. I want to talk comedy. I want to talk how much it's different and it's changed, and how maybe the internet has killed or changed live comedy, and how it's affected your business. I grew up with, maybe like yourself, but I grew up with, seeing live comics and was a thing. But now comedy is essentially everywhere. Turn TikTok on, turn Instagram on. There's comedy around us everywhere. Yeah. What is different about comedy in 2024? Two-part question. Well, how is it different culturally? How is it different business-wise?
Oh, okay. So culturally, I think it's very different. I think because we are in the connected age with all this technology,
yes,
people are much more aware of what is happening in the comedy world than they were before. Before, it was very in person. You had to be there and to see it, and if you didn't, chances of us reading about it in the paper like we do does anybody read the paper? I mean, we read everything online. So, I think the way we communicate, we hear so much more about everything. It's like, was there this much, this before? Was there that much? Yeah, probably, maybe even less of some things, but we hear about it all the time. We're continuously inundated with information all day. Like, how many times are we notified about, something on our phones? Like, how much do I need to know about Taylor Swift? Not that I don't like Taylor Swift, but do I need to know what she ate for breakfast every day? I think a lot of this is so in our face. I also think that societal norms have changed. I think you commented earlier about Eddie Murphy's stand up. Raw wouldn't hold up so well today. And you're right. There's a lot of comedy, like sitcoms and TV shows that were so popular when we were kids, would never be even approved to go on air today, right? Because people have evolved, people have changed. So norms are, I think everything's constantly changing. And as we grow as a society, and people are more connected and become more aware of other people, think about like in the past 100 years how travel has changed. Who used to travel? When I was a kid and I went on a plane for the first time, we had to dress up because it was a luxury. In the 70s, people are still smoking on planes, right? And so it was a big deal, and not everybody was able to go on an airplane, and it was like a milestone in a life. But today, everybody goes on an airplane. So I think we're able to travel. We're able to see people in other countries. We're able to see people in other states, the way people live, and there's just more people. There's now more points of view that we hear about that maybe we wouldn't have before, because we were isolated and we weren't connected in such a way where we'd hear about somebody from around the world the way we would today, right? Communication is much more instantaneous. So I think to go ahead and fill me in, because I feel like I might be going down a rabbit hole, but I think has a lot to do with it.
I think comedy, Leanne, might be playing a bigger role in society than it ever has.
Yeah.
Well, allow me to explain upon that. So news and journalism is no longer what it was, how you and I were raised with it.
True.
I'm 88. Like I've been around since the 20s. I got great lighting. I had a guest on my show, and Kyle Harris, brain lit, awesome lighting technology. Shaved like 30 years off. He's in New York. You should go meet him. Hey, Kyle, man, what's shaking, Kyle? I love my guests. I'm a fanboy of my guests. So I got a great photo. I just bring them all back in all the time, just calling them out. So, but here's my point about my statement about the comedy being more important to society today. What I do on this show, and as I joked at the beginning, so I don't think I'm a comedian, but I try to have some humor and weave some humor into it. People want to be entertained and informed instead of informed and bored. To be entertained, you got to grab their attention. To grab their attention, you got to either be dramatic or be funny. So news and content now is as much marketing copy, hook copy, comedic copy to get somebody engaged with you.
Yes. And I also think that as a comedian, I agree with 100% with what you're saying. I feel like people want to be entertained. And part of me is like, you know what? I don't think the news is made for entertainment. I think it should be informative. And, when I want the news, I
don't disagree with you for the record.
Yeah.
But what the world wants, though.
I hear you. And I feel like a lot of things are dramatized because it attracts people's attention quicker, right? We can't look away from, a train wreck. And that sounds terrible, but it's true. Like, people want to see, like, we immediately scroll and like, what happened today? Was there this today? Was there that today? What stupid thing did somebody say? And we gravitate toward that as a human being, unfortunately. And I think that's mixing. I think people have to realize an entertainer doing some news, like in a news setting, does not make them a journalist with just the facts. It's entertainment.
Right.
First.
But Jon Stewart has come back to the biggest platforms, bigger than it's ever been. And as we approach the 2024 election, you're going to watch Jon Stewart do this. And I predict by this time next year, Jon Stewart's going to be like, so then if Trump wins, actually, who the fuck cares whether Trump wins or Biden wins? You both got a couple of geriatrics running the country. So, it's going to be humor. Right? There's going to be forgotten scripts, forgotten things. Oh, did they press the button? Not press the button. It's going to be funny. So it is going to be laced in humor because people are bored. Because to your point, once I get the fact at 12 o'clock, Leanne, why do I need the fact again at 12:05 and get the fact from every platform? I want to hear it from Leanne's point of view. I want to get the joke from Bilous. So it's just different. And I know that Jon Stewart's not a journalist. And believe me, I grew up in the era of the Tom's like journalism. I loved investigative journalism. Where's it gone? Every media company is like, oh fuck, I can't make money on journalism, so we're just going to entertain everybody.
Yeah, and it's not to say that like Jon Stewart, like his show is extremely powerful. He's excellent at what he does, and obviously there's a place for it, right?
Yes.
But it is interesting, and to your point, comedy has changed and evolved, and it's become more front facing in world events and everything. And I think that's also, would it have been this way if we didn't have all this technology, and connectivity in the way that we do? I don't know, but yeah, it's definitely brought people to the forefront, and people seem to lean into that quite a bit.
Yes.
And I think that's changed. I think the fact that social media in general has given people at all levels of comedy, whether they're newcomers or they're long timers, whatever that may be, has given so many people a voice. So many voices are being heard. Whereas before, maybe we only heard about a handful of comedians that would make it into the news, many years ago. So that's changed. And even people's voices being heard on social media can suddenly propel somebody right to the forefront for, just suddenly overnight. And so, yeah, I think it's changed considerably. And everybody, I think takes comedy way more seriously than ever before.
Oh, I love that. I love that statement because it's supposed to be funny, right?
Yes.
And when my daughter gets frustrated doing something, I'm like, Brooks, it's supposed to be fun. What are you crying for or being upset about? So it's the same thing with comedy. You'll get worked up about shit, right?
Right. And that's the other. So, okay. So this is the other thing. I feel like comedy has always been something in the past that really, truly unites us as people.
Yes.
What I love about Plausible is we have people from many countries that are on the platform. And like one evening we log into an open mic and there's someone from US, someone from Canada, someone from Sri Lanka, someone from India, or somebody from Ireland or the UK or wherever it may be.
Yes.
But we can all relate on so many levels of daily life and things like that, and share so much laughter. When comedy gets taken so seriously, wow, it really lights people up. But comedy is an art, and comedy has always been something that has pushed boundaries, that has talked about things that make people uncomfortable.
Yes.
There's always a tension and a release, right? And when we laugh and we look at why people laugh, there's different types of laughter. I laugh when I'm uncomfortable, right? Some people, it's a fight or flight, some people laugh, some people cry, some people, in times that's really sad, I find myself laughing, and maybe it's totally inappropriate to laugh, but that's a response, a coping mechanism, right? That we need that. It's a release of emotion or a release of tension. And that's what a good cry is, or a good laugh is. And I remember, when we lost my nephew, and I was spending the day with his siblings, this was years ago, and everybody was really sad. It was sudden, it was tragic, it was horrible. And I said, I'm going to take the kids and go get them clothes for the funeral. And we did. And we're in the mall, and we went about and we started having fun, and things were funny, and we were laughing and we were joking, and we were laughing so hard. They're trying on these clothes, and we got laughing so hard. We were like tears coming down our face, and we were like, ha ha ha. And we walk up to the register, and the cashier says, oh, you guys are having so much fun. What party are you going to today? And then it hit us like, oh, we're not, like,
yes.
We feel terrible.
Yes.
Thing is sometimes when we're most hurt, or we're most troubled, or it feels so good to release that in a positive manner, or to have permission to do that. And what a loss we all just experienced. And someone might argue, like, if maybe we were celebrities and they saw us, like, how terrible are these people? You know, how dare you laugh on such a tragic day? But the truth is we're human and we have these emotions and we need an outlet for them. And I think giving people permission to laugh at things that maybe I don't agree with, or uh, see that point of view, or whatever it may be, who am I to say that's an inappropriate response? Like,
Yes.
we need to give each other permission. We don't all like the same toppings on pizza, right? But that doesn't mean that nobody should have pineapple on their pizza because I don't like it. You know, they like it. It's a different taste, and I think humor goes that way, and we're all products of our environment,
Mhm,
right? And
mhm,
you can tell who we are by the 5 people we spend most of our time with, and if we're in that environment and we're exposed to these kind of things, this is the things that we're gonna find funny too, probably, right? Like, I used to emulate, some of my friends in high school because I thought they were so cool. It's no different with any other adults and stuff like that, and if you look around and see maybe their upbringing or their background or their life experience, we can begin to understand why they believe those things or why they see that point of view. But that doesn't mean that I should shut them down because we don't see eye to eye, but instead, what if we find what brings us together and have a better understanding? Agree to disagree without the name calling, without the other things. And I think things have gotten so elevated,
mhm.
and we forgot about sometimes this is just a healthy coping mechanism. Sometimes it's a way of processing data. For me, writing a joke about going through divorce and stuff was so cathartic for me,
I
you
bet.
know?
I bet.
Yeah,
Yes.
I learned a lot through the process. It's how I took in information. It's how I could think it through and how I could, look back on it with a different perspective, or look at it from my ex's perspective and laugh at myself in those situations. I wish more people were able to do that, or could learn how to do that and kind of give themselves, like, pull back a little,
Yes.
step back from it
Yes.
a bit and re-examine it and look at your own role in it instead of pointing all the fingers and the name calling and trying to stop other people from processing. Because I
Yes.
think that art is what it is. Art is a way for us to process and reflect back on life.
Yeah. Yeah. Leanne, before we wrap up, I have to ask this question because I'm
Mhm,
curious. I know the audience is curious, and we'd like to give nuggets. What
mhm,
makes a good comic? What makes a good comedian? You are a comedian. You've seen a gazillion of them. What makes a good
mhm.
comic?
I think what makes a good comic is someone who is, I like someone who's vulnerable, willing to take risks, talk about the hard things, and also talk about the silly things. Like, I think come. I learned. Someone told me once, write what you know. Right, write what you know. Come from your own experience and write what you know. And I think good comedians do that. And I think the other thing that really makes a good comedian is someone who's out there and they're practicing. In comedy, it's all about the journey. It's similar to entrepreneurship. That's what it's been like in my experience. It's all about the journey, is um, going out, creating something, getting feedback on it, going back, reworking it, going out there, doing it again and again. And it's not a, it's a, this is finished. It's ever evolving. And a good joke, sometimes we can get it where it's really tight and it's really good, but then we're building a set, so it's one element in a bigger picture, and we grow and we evolve in it. And just like a business, we start with an MVP, right? That minimum viable product, and then we go and we build something a little bit bigger and better, and then go into our beta, and then go into, this next phase and this next phase. And comedy's no different. It's constantly, experimenting, putting it out there, paying attention to how it's being received, and then go back and work it some more. It's a that to me is doing comedy. I mean, being on stage and hearing the people laugh, that's we spend very little time getting to do that, and most of our time working out the jokes, And so to get to that point to work them out in front of somebody is a big deal. Or, to present them to somebody in an audience is a big deal, but we spend all this other time. So somebody who can really enjoy that journey.
Yeah. I I love how you started it because you described a human being, an authentic human being. And I know that sounds so cliche, but we talk to people about personal brands, we talk to people about success, we talked about what it takes to be a good entrepreneur and be a good leader. Well, to be a good comic, you need to be authentic and vulnerable, don't you? And I love the fact that you use the word vulnerability. in my experience, great comics just put themselves out there and aren't afraid to. Conan O'Brien has been a lot in my head with my kid and just with business, because we seem to be resonating our messaging with that younger male audience the same way Conan did as he grew the original Conan O'Brien show on college campuses, right? And I like to think about Conan because he's on in my gym every single day on stupid Conan on TV, just whatever it seems on, and he's such a vulnerable fool. But I mean that with love, because that to me is a good comedian. Just someone just puts himself out there, is not afraid to give it as much as take it. And I'd like to think that the hour you spent with me, you saw a little bit of that in me. You were in the green room, I was having some fun with you, being able to throw it, but also knowing I can take it back, because that to me is what a real human is, a connection is, and somebody who authentic is. There's no act going on here. This is who I am. So whether you like me or not like me, or laugh with me or not laugh with me, that's just like a comic. So Leanne, we're wrapping it up. You've been a tremendous guest. I've really enjoyed our conversation. In order for the audience to find you and to give you the platform you deserve for Plausible, where can people find you? What have I not asked you about that you want to make sure the audience knows about, that we can make sure that we get your message out there?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you can find me at plausible.com, and that's plausible with 2 Z's, ABLE. .com, and feel free to create your free fan account, or if you want to give comedy a try, create your free comedian account. And I guess the one big takeaway, you asked for a nugget and I gave you like the whole chicken idea back there. But if you were to get one nugget from me, I think my biggest lesson in comedy and life and in business is it's not how many times you fall down, it's how many times you get back up. And I just keep getting back up.
Awesome. I had to pause because I wanted you to have that last word, because that's what it's all about, right? You can fall many times, but as long as you keep getting up, that's how you move forward. Leanne Linsky.
Can I add one more thing? Sorry.
Yeah. No, you get it. Go.
This morning at breakfast, my husband and I said something about getting knocked down, and whenever we say something, we automatically go with a song lyric that goes out, and we're both on the same page with music. Yes. And then I go, I get kicked down. I get up. I had the words reversed, and he's like, I think it's the other way around. I get kicked down, I get back up again, or something. And I get up, I get kicked down again. He goes, that just feels like what you're going through today.
That's it. I think it goes something like, I get knocked down and I get up again and I get up and I just get down. Yeah. So there you go, Business Athlete Nation. I'm also a singer.
I love it. And you got the lyrics the right way.
There you go. Leanne Linsky, thank you for joining me today live in the lab. You've been a tremendous guest. Audience, you can find Leanne Linsky at plausible.com, right?
Yep, that's it.
Awesome. So if you're an aspiring comedian, if you are a comedian, and hey, to be a comedian, you just got to be a human being, be authentic, be raw, and put yourself out there, right?
Absolutely.
That's what it is. All right, Leanne. So listen, here's how the ending works on our show. I go and put you back in the green room. I go throw some more jokes at you. I say goodbye to the audience, and then I come back and walk you out.
Okay. Sounds great.
I'll see you shortly. Hang tight.
Thank you.
All right. So there's Leanne Linsky. What a wonderful show again. We'll put some tunes on here. Pull up the music. She left us nuggets. The one big one that I want you guys to leave with today, though, is what we talked about maybe 20 minutes in, 25 minutes in, which was this idea, don't overthink it. Just get started. Do one thing every single day better, right? So Leanne, who's been in Plausible for 800 years, she started BC, like before Christ. She's been showing up every single day, 1% better every single day, and she's here today. But the point is, she didn't overthink it, and she started. I know there's probably plenty of you listening right now that are overthinking something. So I invite you to stop thinking about it and just get started. All right, so I'm going to get out of here so I can go get some sleep. I'm kidding. I got to prepare for tomorrow's show. Mornings in the lab with myself and Nicole Bernard, noon Central Time. Oh, that's early on the Pacific Coast for Nicole. You know where to find me. X, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're live in the lab, noon Central. We're mornings in the lab, 7 a.m. Central. I'm going to get out of here. I will see you guys tomorrow morning.